Hey everybody, good to see you back once again. So, why 5J1113 never should have been rebuilt? You're probably wondering what's with this clickbaity sound and title stuff. Has Squatch lost his mind? No more than the regular, right? So, yeah, it's not clickbait, it's actually the truth. Now, I've never really discussed this on the public feed. It's made it over on the member site a couple of times. Those people are well aware of how everything transpired, how we got to where we are with 1113. But yeah, when we located and purchased 5J1113, we had absolutely zero intention of ever rebuilding it.
That's right. We approached this purely as a pile of parts because, well, it had so many things wrong with it. You remember the cooling system had frozen and the diesel engine block was cracked so badly, pieces were actually heaved out. Something had landed on it at one time. Both the intake manifold flanges were broken off. The top of the air cleaner was crunched in. The top of the radiator shell was dented in. The radiator was completely heaved and popped from the freezing. The starting engine had been removed when we found it, but it had been frozen and heaved as well. And, you know, the cover had deteriorated from the top of the tractor, and then the pinning clutch had got all kinds of rainwater in, and that housing had actually split from that freezing. The bell housing was also open to the elements. Everything about the main clutch pretty much had just seized up and corroded and was destroyed. 1113 was in a pretty bad way.
And at the time, I did have the channel going here. It was considerably smaller than it is now. We were working on a prototype Minneapolis Spleen tractor, which is cool all day long in the fact that it's the only one in existence. It's the only one like itself that's ever been made. And about 12 people wanted to watch it. You know, and granted, the channel was a lot less back then than it is now, and I was still trying to talk in front of a camera and rigid and stiff and monotone, and I'm marginally better now. But yeah, when I could get like 600 views on an X231 episode, that was a banger. I mean, we were really hitting the mark when that would happen. And we found this D2, and I did the initial like walk around assessment of it, and then like preparation to load and haul, you know, for the recovery. Uploaded that episode, and it was going to be a week until we were going to be able to get back down there again and actually try and get it on the trailer. And in that week's time, that episode had, it was like 38,000 views. Now you're talking about a guy that was overjoyed when he could hit 600 views on an episode, and all of a sudden this little Caterpillar has tens of thousands of views in a week's time. I had never seen anything like it on my channel, and which, all right, I didn't want to do this tangent time. We're going to keep it brief, I promise. But this illustrates the ongoing mystery for me with YouTube, because I never know what's going to be really popular and what's not. All throughout the years, well, we'll start with X231. I thought this was just going to be a smash because this is a one of one. You're not going to see another one like this. This is it. It's like, to me, it's like a golden opportunity. And I thought everybody was just going to be just loving it. And the reception was pretty mild. It was meh. But then we find this Caterpillar D2, which is not rare at all, actually common. It's like a Farmall H or a John Deere B tractor, and people just can't get enough of it. So yeah, that's one theme that's held constant through all the years I've been making videos. I mean, just regularly, the stuff that I've been the most proud of and the most excited to publish, and that I thought was just people were really going to enjoy and be able to relate to, has just always just underperformed. And it's the stuff that I've done almost in passing or just kind of as a routine, rather than we're just going through the motions. That's the stuff that's always done the best. So, and to this day, the Caterpillar content, like I said, is still the bread and butter of the channel. So yeah, if you told me pick 3 videos from 2021, all last year, everything I did the whole year long, my top 3 that I'm the most proud of and that I'd show people and want people to remember me by, none of them came out of the shop. But in the words of the illustrious Joe Dirt, it's not what you want, it's the consumer.
So getting back on track, we went down the following week, got this tractor loaded onto the trailer, hauled it home, and at the end of that episode, I decided to throw in a little, yeah, now I kind of want to see if I can get it running. That was kind of another gauge, another test to see kind of what the viewer response was going to be. And yeah, the recovery and hauling episode
did even better than like the initial walk around and the preparation to load and haul. And the comment section immediately starts just blowing up with, this is going to be the best restoration series ever, you know, and stuff like that. And the subscriber count just started building and building and building. It was almost an exponential thing. And at this point, I still didn't know if we really had a rebuilder on our hands because, well, we had drained 3 gallons of water out of the crankcase before we got to any oil at all. And the diesel engine was stuck, and I knew all the main castings were shot, and a lot of the other parts didn't really want to turn and move. But I had another 5J parts tractor, my grandpa's old tractor, sitting here that was not going to be a rebuilder. And, you know, 1113 in all reality also was not a viable candidate for rebuild because it just had so much stuff wrong with it. And you were going to have to go so far into it. The condition that it was in meant that everything was going to have to be taken down to a bare casting, to the last nut and bolt, and built completely back from the ground up. You were going to take it down to scratch and start absolutely over again. And probably at least half the tractor was going to have to be replaced component wise. So the old 1113 was dead. This tractor will never be what it once was. But, you know, the light bulb kind of came on, and I'm like, because this is going to have to be a last nut and bolt rebuild, that makes it the perfect candidate for like a highly informational step-by-step. If you were going to rebuild any aspect, any part on a D2, you could show all of that from start to finish, A to Z, right here with this one tractor.
So that's what I did. We started with the diesel engine because I knew this was going to be the most complex part of the whole tractor. And if I was going to have trouble sourcing parts to get everything rebuilt back to 100% new spec, I was likely to find it in this realm right here. Once we cleared this hurdle, my plan was to move on to the starting engines, get one built, and do a test fire of both before we moved on to any of the rest. Little did I know the starting engines were going to be the largest delay of the whole project. So we just did what we could, and while we were waiting on that, we moved on to transmission, final drives, undercarriage, finally got back here.
But I think now you're starting to see why, you know, as you've watched me progress through this rebuild, I've been so heavy on the details and the part numbers and the clearances and the specifications and procedures, and as well as first generation, second generation design process. 1113 being a first generation, pretty much unmolested example of what these tractors look like when they first rolled out factory doors, made it the perfect platform to build this series off of. And I know it's atypical to the standard format you see on YouTube because the majority of views on YouTube are generated by will it run. You can take that 5U, that D2 that we towed around the field out there last fall, and we just basically did a will it run episode. I think that was my highest viewed episode of the whole year. And it's just the simple, get to the point, quick stuff like that does the best on YouTube. I'd have a much larger channel if I just took like a vice grips and hammer and chisel approach and just tried to make things run as fast as I could and just quality be damned, you know. Sorry for that, but it's the truth. There's really no better way to put it. And you know, I can gauge like the reception to the content via the comment section, and like 95+% of all the comments that are left are, you know, like-minded people that are interested in the nuts and bolts of things, or the mechanical side of it, or how things run, how things work, or how they're rebuilt. Some of the viewers aren't even like Caterpillar enthusiasts, but they enjoy watching the process and picking up little tricks of the trade and stuff. And that's another reason why I've gone so heavy on the details. Now, that's not to say that my goal is to have everything about this channel super heavy on details like that, because as we move forward, I have other Cat D2 projects in the works. After 1113, we're not going to get so heavy on the details because we've already been there, done that. If it's like a later 5U that has some differences over what you've already seen, I might get in a little bit of that. But for the most part, you know, the rest of the stuff that I plan on doing, at least D2 related, is going to be a lot less talk and a lot more action. So I'm just kind of trying to give you guys an insight into what my overall like channel direction, you know, is going to be, or what I want it to be. But yeah, I've been picking up more and more comments lately, especially with, you know, building 3 starting engines. I've had a lot of people asking, when are we going to like move on? When is this part going to be done and we can move on? You know, whereas as far as we've got to this point, the starting engine is literally like the keystone in a stone arch bridge. Okay, you have the stones that come up from each side, but that keystone at the top is formed to fit. It's the largest and it's the most important one. It's what's holding everything else together. That's literally the starting engine part of this job. But because I'm trying to leave a comprehensive record of how I fixed everything on a D2, those 3 starting engines we did. We only needed 1, but we did 3 of them because I could cover all kinds of bases there that I also wanted to show, how to fix common problems. What are some of the common failures you see? And it's just it just blends in with the overall strategy of let's make this like a record that people can look back on and go back to if they are trying to fix something themselves. Even if they don't do it exactly as I did, they will have a much better understanding of what's involved and they can decide how they want to proceed from there. And to me, that's a lot more important than just, I want to hear this thing run as quick as possible. And I know that's, that's the end result that most people are excited about. Me personally, being a mechanic my whole life, I dread the startup day, okay? Because you have there's a lot of second guessing going on, and you're thinking about every nut and bolt that you've put a wrench on, every piece that you've inspected, and every piece that you've deemed to be good. And when you've done, to the last nut and bolt rebuild on something, if something fails, there's nobody to blame but this guy right here. So there's always a lot of apprehension that comes into like trying a first start. Whereas I know from the outside looking in, it's an exciting time. Me, I'm going to be wound tight as a fiddle string, and those usually aren't fun days because they either usually are really good or they're really bad. So that's but anyway, that's why we did 3 starting engines and not just what we needed, because it's more important to leave the record and do the comprehensive show and tell right now. Once we get done with 1113, then it's going to be more just boom, boom, boom. Let's crank it out. Let's make it run.
So now that I've shared publicly, what the whole process was with 1113, how we never really intended to ever be where we are right here, just a little bit of a preview of things to come. Like I mentioned, we have to do magneto, carburetor, governor, exhaust, breather, everything else. I got like some exhaust stuff. I'm into some breather stuff. There's a governor there. Senior's got the disassembly video on the mag already on the camera. I haven't compiled that yet, but this is where we are. He's ready to start building that back. And he also there's a 5-part series that I believe he recorded 2 years ago now, because I had so many delays with those starting engines. I thought I was going to get to the carburetor rebuild phase a lot faster than we really did. But it's a 5-part series of how to rebuild every aspect of that little Zenith downdraft carburetor that's on these Caterpillar D2s. It's everything you could possibly want to know. And we're going to be rolling into that very soon. We'll probably get those up because they've been living on my computer for like 2 years. It's insane. But I wanted to upload them in series with the rebuild and not just throw those in midpoint somewhere for the sake of getting them up. And then, I just wanted to have everything kind of a continuous flow in the playlist. So you'll be seeing a 5-part rebuild series on carburetor soon, at least a 2-part series on the mag, maybe 3 depending on how the reassembly goes. And then like those other parts, governor, exhaust, breather, all that stuff, I can roll those into 1 or 2 episodes. And then hopefully we'll be at the point we can start filling everything with fluids and attempt to test fire. But yeah, a fire up is still not like right around the corner. It's going to take a little bit to get through all this stuff. But like I said, that's why we're going heavy on the details now. And it sounds counterintuitive, but when you reference it kind of in that frame of mind, we're almost making this series more for the people that are coming along to watch it tomorrow or a week down the road or a year down the road, whatever, than we are the people that are watching it play out now. Because like I said, my end goal is to have that entire compilation of everything to do with the D2 in one place. And it running is just, it comes with the territory along with that. So it sounds kind of messed up, but that's really the way it is. So, all right, everybody, thanks for watching. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too long. I'm good at doing that. So we're going to keep on working here, and there's a lot more content left to come before we can see if we can make noise and smoke. So just so y'all know. Thanks again.